Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. I'm Neil Parsonlal. The new school term reopens with some key issues still outstanding. We speak with Sharon Manguru and Tutor President Martin Lumpkin. The AEC has announced Pope Francis's appointment of His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon to oversee the Diocese of Willemstad, Curaçao, in addition to his current duties. Roman Catholics are told to make family forgiveness a priority in this year of the Jubilee. And later, the passports to the 8 sacred sites are now in the hands of Roman Catholics. What does this mean, and what's next in this holy year? Chair of the Jubilee Committee, Rhonda Mengo, joins us on set for this. And now for our top story. There were no major issues to force closure of Catholic schools in the new term, which opened on Monday, January 6th. However, the need for new schools and the filling of vacancies in the education system are of concern to stakeholders. Laura Pickford-Gordon spoke to CEO of the Catholic Education Board, Sharon Manguru, and President of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, Martin Lumpkin, for this report.
We've got the schools that needed critical repairs. The repairs have been completed, although in one school it was completed just the day before. But they're ready. There will be some work that will continue on afternoons and weekends.
Tutor President Martin Lumpkin is concerned that the pupils of St. Dominic's RC Primary Penal continue to attend classes at the parish hall of the RC Church and at the community center, and it is now 9 years since the primary school students of Granville have been attending classes at the Granville Activity Center.
We are looking forward to those schools being rebuilt with the assistance of the Catholic Education Board of Management and the Ministry of Education.
In 2023, a change implemented by the Teaching Service Commission for recruitment of teachers for denominational schools caused the Presbyterian Board to file for judicial review. The CEPM subsequently joined the case as an interested party. With no resolution yet, the filling of vacancies is in limbo.
There are vacancies in our schools that we cannot fill because there are no candidates that meet the criteria for teaching in a Catholic school. We have 35 of those vacancies.
Last month, the CBM requested permission to use suitably qualified candidates from the government order of merit list to fill the gaps.
I have asked the Education to ask the Teaching Service Commission for permission to use candidates from the government order of merit list because we know there are candidates on that list that meet our criteria. But so far, we have not got that permission.
Commenting on the vacancies at schools, Lumpkin is optimistic that the Teaching Service Commission will fill the various posts.
Teacher 1, primary, Teacher 3, secondary, and the filling of the posts of principal, vice principals, senior teachers, head of department, basically those filling of vacancies which would assist the schools in performing their duties on a daily basis.
I am Laura Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
In a time when unity and peace are more important than ever, a recent video circulating on social media has sparked concern across the nation. And the Vicar General for the Archdiocese of Port of Spain, Father Martin Sergiu, has spoken out, voicing his concerns over the messages being promoted. He told Altos, this individual is not only misrepresenting Rastafarianism, but also promoting messages of religious intolerance, hatred, and even violence which contradict the core teachings of major religions.
Everybody today is in the business of peacemaking. From a Christian perspective, both Ephesians and Colossians speak about the cross of Christ, the blood of Christ, breaking down barriers, not building barriers, of reconciling people and drawing people to one another.
Father Sergiu said there is a long tradition in our nation of people from different races, religions, and backgrounds living in harmony.
And we've had a very noble an edifying tradition of people of different races, classes, religions living in harmony. The interreligious organization stands as a witness of that. And therefore, we have to reject this false teaching and false religion, and we have to work together.
He insists it is essential to work together to build a stronger, more peaceful nation.
And so on, but we have to work together to build up the nation, especially at this time, and to build up our country for the betterment of all.
Pope Francis has appointed Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon as apostolic administrator for the Diocese of Willemstad, Curaçao, in addition to his regular duties. As apostolic administrator, His Grace will oversee the operations of the Diocese of Willemstad and ensure good governance until a permanent bishop is named. The appointment was officially announced this week by the Antilles Episcopal Conference Secretariat in Port of Spain. Archbishop Gordon is currently the president of the Antilles Episcopal Conference and Archbishop of Port of Spain, which now includes the suffragan Diocese of Willemstad, along with Georgetown, Guyana, Bridgetown, Barbados, and Paramaribo, Suriname. And staying with the AEC, the permanent board of the Antilles Episcopal Conference is in the second day of a two-day meeting today, and the bishops are asking the faithful to pray for the success of this meeting. The meeting got underway yesterday when they reviewed the synodal process. The permanent board is required to meet at least twice a year or as often as the president deems it necessary. Present at this year's permanent board are Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon as president, Bishop John Passard, the vice president, Bishop Robert Llanos as treasurer, Archbishop Kenneth Richards of Jamaica, Archbishop David Macaire of Fort-de-France, Martinique, Archbishop Gabriel Malzer of Castries, St. Lucia, Bishop Karel Chini, the Bishop of Paramaribo, Suriname, Bishop Alan Ramsey of French Guyana, Father Donald Chambers, who is General Secretary of the AEC, and Father Peter McIsaac. The board is mandated to continue the work of the conference between plenary meetings, further the execution of projects, implement conference decisions, and prepare the agenda for the plenary assembly. Jubilee, a time of hope, was the theme of the 25th National Conference of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal, held on January 3rd to 5th at the Center of Excellence, Macoya. Tricia Hudlin Cooper, a judge of the High Court, was one of the featured speakers and said, "Catholics are called to affect and infect the atmosphere with God's love." Laura Pickford-Gordon has more in this report.
Madam Justice Tricia Hudlin Cooper delivered a lively discussion on the topic, Hope, a supernatural gift of God by which we firmly trust that God will give us eternal life and all means necessary to obtain it, if we do what He requires of us. A quote taken from the Penny Catechism. She spoke of the actions needed to bring hope to society.
And He has sent us out one by one, two by two, wherever He has positioned us. It is to bring the peace and the presence of God in every situation. That's why we are here.
She said the pilgrim journey is not only personal but also collective. Catholics must understand the space they inhabit. She quoted from Deuteronomy 10, verses 12 to 13, saying these words of Scripture can be applied not only personally but nationally and globally.
To fear Yahweh, your God, to follow all His ways, to love Him, to serve Yahweh, your God, with all your heart and all your soul, to keep the commandments and laws of Yahweh, that for your good.
Hudlin Cooper gave 5 characteristics of hope. It looks to the future, is built on faith, hope is connected to waiting, hope comes from God, and hope keeps its eyes on the promises of God and draws strength in the midst of our weaknesses and our storms. I am Laura Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
And staying at the conference, diocesan priest Father Hugh Logan is reminding the Catholic faithful that God created the world on a firm foundation of hope, and it is that hope as Christians to which we must cling, trusting that it will never disappoint. Father Logan from the Diocese of St. George's, Grenada, spoke on the theme, Hope Will Not Disappoint, at last weekend's Catholic Charismatic Conference.
Let go and enter into the mystery of God. That was the message of hope that Father Hugh Logan brought to the faithful gathered at the Center of Excellence last weekend for the Catholic Charismatic Revival. This Jubilee year, he said, is about letting go, as he urged the faithful to stop putting their faith and hope in man and instead turn to God.
Those of us who have went after gods who can't see, God who can't talk, God who can't walk, God who cannot do nothing for you, the gods of the world out there. Your life will end in futility.
Declaring that God can do what no man can do, Father Logan noted that God created the world on a firm foundation of hope, a Christian hope that does not disappoint.
God can take nothing and put form to it. God can bring out of nothing. God can bring something.
He noted that when Hurricane Beryl struck Grenada last year, creation was battered, bruised, and broken, but it did not stay that way.
Even the trees did not give up. Days after, they begin to grow again. That's hope. In creation is hope. That's how God has created us. That's how God has created creation. In the very nature of what He has created, there is hope.
In a year where we are called to be pilgrims of hope, Father Logan pointed to the importance of hope.
Hope is not theoretical knowledge, but it's a living faith. Faith is a hope is rooted in faith. Faith gives substance to our hope. You must come to an encounter with the Lord.
And Archbishop Gordon is urging the Roman Catholic faithful to make forgiveness of family one of the priorities in this Jubilee year. His Grace told the congregation at Our Lady of Montserrat RC Church in Tortuga, one of the 8 sacred sites, that forgiveness and mercy must be at the heart of what we do as pilgrims of hope. Roger Sands sent us this report.
His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon says, in this wonderful year of Jubilee, we have an opportunity for mercy like nothing before. And that mercy, he said, must be extended to those closest to us. As we visit the 8 sacred sites, he urged that we go for confession, obtain the Eucharist, pray 3 Hail Marys for the Pope's intentions, and say the Glory Be. It's a time, he said, for forgiveness and mercy.
This is a year to really do an inventory in your heart and ask yourself, what am I carrying for different members of my family in terms of unforgiveness? And really pray hard about that and ask for grace for that. And then do an act of forgiveness with them.
He suggested that visits to the sacred sites can be done as families, where everyone does confession and attend Mass on the same day.
And then after say, folks, I'm real sorry for all the ways that I have hurt you, and start the conversation about forgiveness among the family. And let that conversation be a family conversation of forgiveness of each other, so that we leave the sacred site by leaving the unforgiveness behind. And we enter into the year now ready to get wet, 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 with grace, with mercy, and with love.
Noting that for many years the Church has emphasized the need for faith, he said the Holy Father in his wisdom is now asking us to shift our focus to hope.
Hope is a missing ingredient in the dynamic of the Catholic Church right now. Because to say I believe in God, fair enough. To act by putting my trust in God, knowing that my trust is secure because God will not disappoint me and God will do what God promises, and to walk the world that way, that is really different.
And it was another packed church at Our Lady of Fatima RC in Kirep on Saturday, January 4th, as His Grace opened another of the Jubilee sacred sites. Clisha Best has more in this report.
stressing to parishioners that this spiritual year is one of extraordinary grace and favor. The Archbishop called on Christians to use this time to step forward in forgiveness and mercy.
And this is a year of mercy. The Holy Year is a year of mercy. And it is through mercy that hope will be unleashed.
The Archbishop said this Holy Year also calls on us to be pilgrims of hope.
Hope is that superpower that if we, during this year, as pilgrims of hope, open our heart wide and allow God to infuse in our soul hope all through this year so that we grow in faith, hope, and love, then we will be changed by the end of this year. And if we are willing to allow God to do what God does, what God promises, what God wants to do, if we would allow him to do it, then our families will be changed and our nation will be changed.
The following day, Sunday, January 5th, the Archbishop opened the 8th and final Jubilee sacred site at Our Lady of the Assumption Church in Maraval. His Grace used his message at this location to plead with Christians to reorient their priorities. He said, "We find it hard to give an hour of our weekend to go to Mass or pay reverence to God in a moment of prayer, finding it hard in our modern world to give God what is due to God."
God is God. And then after that, there is God. And after that, there is God. And somewhere lower down in the order of things is all the practical things that we need to do. Brothers and sisters, in this Jubilee year, we have to reorient our priorities where God is first.
Each one of us is God's agent in the world today, and as such we must share the love, forgiveness, and mercy that we want to achieve at the end of the year of Jubilee. This was the message delivered by Father Leslie Tankai, parish priest at Our Lady of the Assumption in Maraval, as he delivered the homily at the midday Mass on Tuesday at the Living Water community. Catholic News editor Raymond Sims has more in this report.
Noting the saying that love changes everything, Father Leslie Tankai told the congregation at the Living Water Community Chapel on Tuesday that each of us are called by God in this year of Jubilee to do what we can to help those who are dejected, in need, and those who are looking for a means of salvation.
We know for a fact in the world today and in our own island, there are many people who are lost. What are we giving them? Well, probably we have to ask the question first. How much do we love them to give them something? How much are we prepared to go the extra mile? Because to give up their 5 loaves and 2 fish is not easy. To give up the little that we have sometimes is challenging.
Preaching on the day's reading, which spoke of the 5 loaves and 2 fish used to feed the multitudes of more than 5,000, Father Tankai said God is calling each of us to share whatever we have, no matter how little it is.
But if we love deep enough and we are open to the empowerment that God has in store for us, my brothers and sisters, with God all things are possible. Scrap of meal and jar of oil will never be emptied. And I am more than certain many of us here present and those online have experienced the goodness of God. Even when they are down and out, somebody appears with something for them.
He acknowledged the difficulty in doing what God asks, but noted that this year of Jubilee offers us the opportunity to change through the power of God's love and grace.
A Jubilee of hope, a Jubilee where all peoples will be forgiven, where all peoples will be freed by the power of God's love, God's grace, and God's mercy. And we, each one of us, are God's agents in the world today to share that love, that forgiveness, that mercy, so the renewal that we anticipate at the end of this year, the end of the Jubilee year, will be fulfilled in our times.
And the mountains in reply, echoing their
I'm Raymond Sims for Catholic News Altos.
It's now time for us to take a short break, and when we come back, we speak with Rhonda Mengo about the Jubilee and all that happens during this Jubilee year. Stay with us.
Have you ever heard of holy doors? Holy doors are a symbol of faith and grace, especially in the Jubilee year. But what makes them so special?
Holy doors are not ordinary doors. They represent Christ, who said, "I am the door. If anyone enters through me, they will be saved." During the Jubilee year, these doors are opened in specific churches around the world, inviting the faithful to walk through them as a sign of their spiritual journey towards reconciliation, renewal, and grace.
Here in this Archdiocese of Port of Spain, several sacred sites have been designated to host holy doors. The tradition of holy doors dates back to 1500 when Pope Alexander VI first designated the door at St. Peter's Basilica as holy door for pilgrims. Since then, it has become a powerful symbol of crossing from sin to grace, a reminder of God's infinite mercy. Passing through the holy doors is not just a physical act, but an expression of faith, a desire of conversion, a step towards a closer relationship with God.
While holy doors in Rome are iconic, local sites like Our Lady of Perpetua, San Fernando, Our Lady of Fatima in Quebec provide a meaningful and accessible way for us to partake in this Jubilee year. Come, visit all the holy doors in our Archdiocese and experience this sacred tradition for yourself.
And we say a special thanks to the media team at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Caripichaima for that really interesting piece on the sacred doors for this Jubilee year. And we have on set to tell us a lot more about the Jubilee year, Rhonda Mengo, who heads the committee in charge of all of this. Rhonda, welcome back to the set of Altos.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me back.
And as we spoke of the doors, let's dive straight in. How do you get a passport to go to these doors?
Okay, but first, it's a sacred site. Okay, so I think the site itself is a sacred site. So in the church is a sacred site. Because the holy door really is in Rome, but this is a symbolic door that we would have, but the site is...
The site itself.
Yes, the site itself. And you can get a passport to go from any parish, every parish has, any of the communities, the religious communities or the Ecclesial communities we all have, right here at Living Water you have. You can go to the site itself and get a passport there, even if you don't have. If you're non-Catholic, if you don't go to church, if you're a Catholic, a lapsed Catholic, and you don't go back to church, and you feel a call to go, just go to one of the sites, you will get your passport right there.
So is there any kind of a registration that has to take place in order to be able to access the passports?
We are registering really so that we can keep in touch with people who have passports. That's the idea of the registration. But it's not compulsory. Some parishes are given without registration. But if we have your name and your contact, we will update you during the year of certain things that are happening. So that's the idea of the registration. But you can get it anywhere. And if you have problems, call us and we will give it to you.
And you'll get one. I'll be sure to pick up one when I go downstairs.
Great, perfect.
But you mentioned something about non-Catholics. The Holy Door, that invitation, to that welcome, is really a tool of evangelization as well for us.
Absolutely.
What is the appeal now to non-Catholics, as you said, persons who have lapsed, to come back into the church?
You see, the year is a year of grace, tremendous grace. It has been all the centuries. It has always been a year of grace. And people have received tremendous favors from God. So lapsed Catholics, all of us want tremendous favors from God. We're all struggling through life. And, you know, we invite people to come and receive in these sacred sites many favors from God. Come, don't be afraid. If you haven't gone to church for 50 years, that's okay. If you're a baptized Catholic and you never came to church, that's okay. If you feel a tug in your heart, come. Come to one of the sites, and just receive the graces that God is pouring out upon his people in this tremendous Jubilee year.
Archbishop Gordon spoke of this allowing families coming.
Right.
Is it that each member of the family should have a passport, or do we have a family passport?
No, each member can have their passport, because you know the mother and father might pass on by the next Jubilee year, but the children will still be here, and they can bring their passport to their families. So it's a keepsake, it's a beautiful, blessed keepsake for especially for young people. Let them have their own, whoever would like. So families, we just give a family of 10 people passport, so the whole family making a pilgrimage to go to the site. And that's what people will do.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about the Congress, the Eucharistic Congress that is supposed to happen in May, is it?
Yeah, so May, so that's going to be a week long, maybe 10 days long. It's going to begin at the cathedral, probably the Thursday prior to the week of the Congress. And every day during that week, there will be a symbolic pilgrimage with 2 symbolic items, which I would surprise people for now, that will go to each sacred site in that week. And that we will have certain events and certain talks or whatever. We will be working with the vicariate for what they would like in their own vicariate. But it will start like on the Thursday before the week of the Congress and go right through and culminate on the Saturday, the 10th of May at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. And
there's a cardinal who's supposed to join us?
Yes, a cardinal will be in a couple of days before, and he will be at the Congress, at the Oval. Yes.
And this is the first time he's coming.
Yes,
he will be coming to Trinidad.
First time he is coming to Trinidad. So there's a lot of excitement about that as well.
And Rhonda, we see the excitement on your face, and we see the excitement building in the Archdiocese as now all eight sacred sites are open to parishioners. So we really want to encourage each and every one of us as Roman Catholics, as the faithful, to really go out, visit the sites, obtain your passport, and become part of that pilgrimage of hope in Trinidad and Tobago for the Jubilee year 2025. Rhonda, we want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for calling.
We'll see you again.
Yeah, praise God. And these pictures that we have here, these absolutely beautiful. It was just such a tremendous week when we opened all the sites. A lot of grace.
A lot of grace happening.
Amen.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Praise.
This week's issue of the Catholic News. Where does hope dwell? Dominican sister Rennie Hall offers a reflection after attending the funeral for Minister Lisa Morris Julian and 2 of her children who died tragically in a house fire. And get your copy to read up on last weekend's 25th National Conference of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal. I'm Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
And that's a wrap for our show this week. We thank you very much for viewing, and we encourage you to become part of the pilgrimage of hope with our Jubilee year. We leave you with some videos put together by the media team at St. Francis of Assisi Parish in Sangre Grande, one of the 8 sacred sites. Do have a good week, everyone.
And having read this official document, I declare this sacred site as a sacred site for the Archdiocese for Jubilee 2025.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.